Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a pattern from one of your favorite pads. So just as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that you should find your favorite pad, create your own pattern from it, and then distribute that pattern or sell pads from it. This video is mainly for people who have a favorite pattern and they just want to make some pads for themselves because it's what works best for them. So just putting that out there, this is what that is for. And basically what you're going to need to do this is your pad, some paper, scissors, and a pencil, and a ruler is helpful. A ruler smaller than this is very helpful, but since my kids take off with mine all the time, this is what I have today. So the first thing that I will do is fold my paper into quarters. And it helps to make sure that your crease is nice and flat. So this gives you a starting point to know where to place the pad on here to trace it. And we are going to be focusing on this section, so just this fourth. And I'm going to place the pad in the center of the paper. Try to get that as even as possible. And then I'm going to make some marks. I'm going to mark here where the snap is. And I'm going to mark up here where the length is. And then I'm just going to roughly trace around this. Okay, so here I have, let me just zoom in a bit. No more zoom left. Okay. So I have traced roughly just a quarter of the pad. The next thing that you want to do is decide if you like the shape of this. Because I don't want to copy this pad completely, I'm just going to change it a little bit. And you can use any kind of straight edge to help you make the marks. This doesn't have to be exact at all, because you can smooth out any of these rough lines when you're cutting. Cutting is magical. There, so I've got my flare. And then for this, I'm just going to keep that bit of curve. I'm going to make the pad like that. So I'm going to fold this back into fourths. Now I'm going to cut it. And so that is the basic shape. And then the next step you'll need is a core. So I'm going to label this one as the sew line, because this shape you would trace onto the back of your topper and then position your needle directly on that line and sew. And forget about seam allowance, just rough cut around your fabric, and then when you're done sewing the layers together, you can trim off the excess seam allowance and make it that way instead of trying to sew with the seam allowance as the guide. But anyway, so this is the exact sewing line. This does not include seam allowance. So for the next step, I am going to do this again. I'm going to fold this into fourths again. And line it up with the folds. And then really quickly, I'll just trace this again. and you don't even have to trace the wing, and I'll show you why. So that was so simple. All you have to do is trace the flare, and next you'll take a straight edge and then connect the flare down to this line, this fold line. So just roughly, it's going to go like this. And then from there, you're going to measure 3/8 of an inch in. Just every few steps. I'm going to do it with a pencil because it's a little easier than a marker. 1, 2, 3, 3/8. Make a little mark. I'm going to go up here because it's a straight line. 1, 2, 3. Make a mark. 3, make a mark. This does not have to be super accurate because it's going to be hidden within your pad. Unless you're doing an exposed core. And then I would suggest doing 1/4 instead of 3/8. There you go. And then you can see I've just created a dotted line for the core. Grab this straight edge. And then I'm just going to freehand this part. There. And then I'll fold this back up and cut it out. And there is your core line. This is the core cutting line, so you're going to cut out absorbent fabric in this exact shape. No seam allowance needed. So there it is. And that fits within there. And you've got your template for a pad that will very likely work for you very well. So that's all, and thanks for watching, guys. I hope that was helpful. Here's the quick version. Fold your paper into fourths, and then trace your pad when it's centered in the middle of the page. Even out some lines, decide how you'd like the shape to be, and then cut out your outline. Fold another page for your core, and then trace the flare when that line is centered in the page, and then extend the line from the flare to that folding line, and then offset the green line 3/8 of an inch to create enough space for your core to fit in your pad, and then cut that out, and you've got your template.